Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone. This is State Representative Brad Halbrook, joined with 5 of my colleagues at a little bit of a different Tuesday night roundtable. We are live in the Stratton building on the Illinois State Capitol Complex. Immediately to my left, just physically but not philosophically, is Representative Niemerg, Senator Chesney, Representatives Miller, Representatives Willauer, and Representative David Freese. And thank you guys for joining us. Guys, we are 5 days out, just a little over 100 hours, 101 hours to the midnight Friday night, Saturday night, May 31st adjournment deadline. Got 4 more days to go, and we've got some big issues to tackle. We've got them here on the whiteboard behind us. The budget, taxes, energy, and pensions. And for most of these bills, there's no real language been written yet. Just a lot of concepts, a lot of being talked about. And with that, let's just get into the budget. $55.2 or $4 billion proposal. Representative Niemerg, what's your thoughts on where we're at on this budget business?
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Thanks, folks, for tuning in with us here this evening. The $55 billion budget. When I came into the General Assembly, it was about $43 billion. David, when you and I came in, I think when you gentlemen came in, it was about 38, I believe. So it's grown exponentially over in the 6 or 8 short years that some of us have been here. This year, we're looking at a major budget shortfall. They had $8 billion in COVID funds that they spent, and then they continued appropriations with those monies when we don't have those monies. They spent $3.2 billion on legal immigration in the last several years. Now we're looking at least a $1 billion budget shortfall. And instead of cutting, they're talking about raising taxes. We don't have a revenue problem here in the state of Illinois. We have a spending problem. And getting to the last days of session, you have several legislators sitting here. We have not seen the budget. We do not know what's in the budget. And that's really a shame, because we represent plus or minus 108,000 folks in our districts. And to not be able to know what we're looking at the next fiscal year is a travesty. So it's something we're going to be watching intently and closely. But I want to let you know there are some issues over on the other side of the aisle. There's a gentleman by the name of Fred Crespo, who's been around for 20 plus years. And he's been asking a lot of questions. He's a Democrat, but he's been asking a lot of questions on this issue about spending, about not having the appropriated funds to fund Illinois state government. And rather than listen to somebody who's actually saying, hey, we need to watch what we're spending, the Democrats and the Speaker have actually removed him from all of his appointments as committee's chair in the Legislative Audit Commission, as well as his own caucus. So apparently dissension within the Democrat Party will not be tolerated in any way, shape, or form, and will continue to tax and spend the great people of the state of Illinois.
Exactly. And I think it's important as we continue this conversation about this budget. Since Governor Pritzker's been here, the budget has grown from, I think, $32 billion or so to almost $40 billion, a 40% increase. Almost $17 billion when you look at it. So it's a phenomenal growth. Gentlemen, anybody want to weigh in on this? Representative Miller?
I think that when you look at the growth of the budget, you have to consider that I think J.B. Pritzker is going to stay in consistent lockstep with the budget. I think he's grown as much as the budget has. Just a casual observation.
Well, observation's important around here to see
But
that.
Brad, hey, has anybody's life really gotten better since 2019 when J.B. Pritzker came in?
Yeah, I would say that
with all the extra money that they spend.
Yeah, the only people's lives that's gotten better probably has been the people that work at U-Haul and the other moving companies around.
Illegal immigrants.
Yeah. Mayflower.
Folks in state government?
Yeah.
State government's grown.
Yeah, we now have more jobs in state government than we have manufacturing jobs in Illinois, and you know you're on the wrong path.
Exactly. Any closing thoughts on this one before we go into taxes? So with that, guys, it looks like the budget is somewhere from $500 million to $1 billion going to be short. And of course, we see the governor continues to raise taxes year after year. Just a few short years ago, the gas tax doubled, has an automatic increase built into it every July 1st. We just see these costs continue to go up. Dozens of tax and fee hikes over the last half a dozen or 10 years. Senator Chesney, we're seeing as a potential of a service tax that's going to add $2 billion plus, maybe upwards of $6 billion to the revenue enhancements that this majority party and the governor is proposing. What's your thoughts?
Well, first, the Democrats always say revenue enhancements, which are really just repackaged tax increases. And we've been around long enough to remember that it wasn't just Democrats that passed taxes, it was also Republicans that passed them as well. They did that with the income tax increase from 3 to 5%. They did this with the gas taxes, the licensing taxes, and a whole host of other taxes. So we have had Republicans that have joined the Democrats, and each year we're reminded of the gift of tax increases, which will be ultimately some of the highest gas taxes in the entire country. Third highest corporate taxes, you know, combined highest, overall combined taxes in the entire country, second highest property taxes. Everything just continues to go up and up, and so now we're talking service taxes, which will include the haircuts and anything else, but you'll see the lobbyists will start to carve out their industries, so the taxpayers will start to see really where the influence is in the Capitol, because they'll start to see carve-outs for legal services and others, because those folks, of course, won't get hit, but they'll hit all of the mom and pa's and those that don't have the fancy lobbyists and all the big oomph. But it'll be interesting, you know. We'll say it, you know, and this upsets some Republicans, but you know, don't put it aside that Republicans aren't trying to cut a deal for something, you know. They love to pass tax increases for a road project, a bridge project, or something. So don't think that there's not a little horse trading behind the scenes that might happen. I don't know that it'll happen this year, but you know, we saw it happen with the tax increases. We saw it happen with the gas tax. We saw it happen in the budget, and I think that was 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2019, and so. You know, to be seen, but hundreds of millions of dollars in additional fee and tax increases, and let's hope that we should have 59 no votes. If we don't have 59 no votes, folks, we have a real problem in this state.
Right.
But I can tell you, we're all going to be no.
Exactly.
We're all no. So
Right.
that's where I think it's going, though.
Yeah. Anybody else on the?
No, I think Andrew hit a great point. Is, you know, they're trying to peel us off so they could, quote, have, you know, advertises having bipartisan support. You know, Adam nailed it. We do not have a revenue problem in this state. We got a taxing problem. You know, there's a reason why we have company after company, citizen after citizen leaving this state. It's taxes.
Yeah, that's right.
It's either we're going to do structural reforms to our spending and our systems, or they're going to continue to increase taxes. And the powerful special interests that you were talking about, they don't want structural reform. So there's only one way to go in this.
Right.
At the end of the day, taxpayers continually are asked to prop up systems that everybody knows that are unsustainable.
Boy, as a gentleman, when I go home at night, I feel like the governor of the majority party just thinks that we're human ATM machines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I will promise the good citizens here in the state of Illinois, is there will not be one Freedom Caucus member that will vote for this budget.
Right.
Absolutely.
I can promise you that.
As we move on, energy is our number 3 item. It's the big bill, big issue. There's been 2 major pieces of energy legislation that's passed through this Capitol in the last few years. FEJA back in 2016, or I think it was 2015 or 2016. CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act, in 2021. And I just find it really interesting that the leading Democrat in the Senate was quoted here in the Tribune just recently. He says, "We're trying to find ways to ensure that capacity spikes," and that's an auction that happens every spring. Due to potential demand on electricity, that these don't continue. We saw what, double-digit, triple-digit increases in the capacity price for energy, but he wants to, you know, they passed this legislation to make it more reliable, cheaper and better, and just the opposite occurs. I just find this kind of interesting. What this is going to amount to, so if you're ever served by Commonwealth, you're going to pay nearly $11 a month more for the next 12 months. If you're served by Ameren, you're going to have an 18 to 22% on your energy bill increase over the next 4 months. And again, what these guys propose is just, it's just crazy. Trying to be 40% renewable by the year 2030. And what's interesting is they said, well, we didn't know that the data centers were going to come on. Well, when CEJA was passed in 2021, they knew about data centers because they talked about it in 2020 and 2021. So again, we're seeing that there's maybe a 600-page bill that was chopped around a week or 2 ago, but maybe there's been amendments and more discussions with that. Guys, this is a long ways from being done yet. I'll just throw it open. Anybody wants to weigh in about energy?
Well, I think the Democrats have played firefighter and arsonist, right? So they create the problem, but then they want to take credit when they call the firefighters to put out the fire that they created. So, you know, we called this under CEJA in 2021. There was Republicans again that supported this green energy garbage, and we told everybody that this was going to be a bailout. That it was hard to quantify exactly what the need was, and this was under nuclear. And I was the only state rep at the time that voted against the bill and had nukes in my district because we knew this was going to happen. You all called it too. I wasn't in the Freedom Caucus then, but the conservatives called that this was going to happen, and we had Republicans, joined Democrats in CEJA, and now 2 or 3 years later, we've seen the energy costs skyrocket. 40% Ameren, 10% ComEd. ComEd's going to start coming up with Ameren as well, so you're going to see 40-50% energy costs. And this is the problem when you start to negotiate with the Democrats, is that you're always going to end up on the losing side of these policy positions when you take the party platform and you take the principles that you campaign on and you don't do it when you're down here in Springfield. And when that doesn't match how you tell the voters you're going to act in your districts and you come down here and do something different, the only people that should be upset should be the Republicans that supported this stuff. Because now they're the same Republicans that are trying to say that they're going to fix the issue. Well, they're the ones that voted for the problem that they created.
Right.
So I think one of the issues, I talked to some guys in my district that are in the business, the energy business, and I think we're going to see this in the years to come, is trying to get this, quote, green energy, solar, actually onto the grid. You just don't, it's not a plug and play kind of situation. They actually have to interface. There's cycles that got to be met. We're going to see problems with that interface, and if there's any hiccup in the system, it kicks it off. So we are not even remotely close to seeing all the problems with this.
Right.
Oh yeah, the Green New Deals, everything has to do with it. It's all just a scam. They're not saving the planet, they're ripping you off.
That's right.
Anybody with half a brain can see what's happening. Anybody can look at this and realize that this is not going to work. And that's what happens when you put a political ideology over common sense.
Right. Well, I think the bottom line, this is just a huge wealth transference from those that rely on energy to the politically connected elites.
Yeah, that's right.
All we're doing is allowing China to conquer the world with all this green energy scam. It's a complete scam, and I would assume that some of the people that are watching this town hall this evening are senior citizens, and if you will think back, I mean, they've been selling this idea forever, and this green energy thing is a complete scam. And if you just think about what you can remember during your lifetime, and I know that I've watched this whole thing evolve, and there's been 41 predicted climate crisis since 1967, and the consistent thing about all of them is none of them have ever happened. 100% failure of anything happening that they proclaimed was going to, but yet they have everybody running scared like the planet's going to be destroyed from carbon dioxide.
Wait, so Al Gore was wrong?
Al Gore was wrong.
Oh, man,
Write
Rush
it down.
was right.
I thought Obama was going to lower sea levels. That ever happened?
No, he just bought a home on the beach.
Well, we know that the polar bears are thriving in the polar, so that's all good. Hey guys, I know we've spent a lot of time on energy. Let's just be real quick here. Pensions, Representative Wilhour, I know this is a special topic with you. 140 billion plus unfunded liability for the current pension system, and now proposed fix to the Tier 2 that was enacted in 2011. I'll just throw it to you, Representative Wilhour, to weigh in on what's going on with the pension Tier 2 fix.
Yeah, pensions are one of the toughest and toughest deals that we deal with here. It's the elephant in the room for sure, but it's the reason your property taxes are so high.
Right.
Chesney talked about, we're among the highest in the nation. Well, a big part of that is because we're spending so much money on these legacy costs. So they did a reform in 2010 that started to get us out of that, but now here we are. There's enough of the people that are in the system that are being affected by it now, so they want to change it. They want to revert it back to basically to Tier 1, which was absolutely draining us. So it's another step in the wrong direction. There's things that we can do that are going to right size this, that'll fix it, and will also respect the contributions that the folks made to it, but this isn't it. It's a complete giveaway. It's reverting back. It's like taking out $1 million mortgage on a $30,000 salary. The numbers just don't work. Even if you think it, even if you thought it was the right thing to do, we can't afford it. The taxpayers can absolutely not afford it. It's the wrong direction to go. But it's still pretty early on that one. We'll see. There's a lot of very powerful interests behind it that want to do it. But we'll see. We'll see what it goes. Either they want to fix the system or they want to enhance benefits. They need to make a decision on that. So.
Anybody have a 30-second closing comment on that, and then we'll wrap up for this evening? Everybody got quiet. Well, guys, here's the bottom line: is we're 4 days from adjourning. Lots of questions, really short on answers. No budget language yet. The clock's ticking. Very little transparency. We know probably there's people talking. They're talking behind closed doors somewhere. But we're going to be here. We're going to try to join back in. We'll go live. It may be a few of us, maybe a lot of us, but we're going to try to be back as things begin to break, or at least once a day. That is, if the Capitol has not been sold to some politically connected NGO or other special interest. It's always a risk.